Today, I've got a rather simple question to answer. Just how fast is Tadej Pogačar really when he's riding up the huge Tour de France climbs such as Mont Ventoux? And how long could a mere mortal like myself keep up with him at his proper Tour de France race pace? Now, to get things started, of course, it is not going to be to the very top. Otherwise, I'd be riding around in a UAE team jersey right now. So, I think it's going to just be a matter of minutes, but I'm really curious to see just how difficult that pace is. Because when we watch the Tour de France and other races, you see all these watt per kilo numbers thrown around, but it's really hard to put context on it. There was a similar effect a few years back with Eliud Kipchoge when he ran that sub 2 hour marathon. And a load of people again were really like, well, what does that mean? What does that crazy fast pace he was running mean? A load of runners, and it went pretty viral on the internet, were doing the sort of Kipchoge challenge where they saw just how long they could sustain his marathon pace, with most people lasting a matter of minutes. So yeah, basically I'm doing the same thing, but for our greatest cyclist pretty much of all time, Tadej Pogačar. So instead of talking about it, I'm gonna throw my kit on and try riding up Ventoux to see how long I can hold Tadej Pogačar's pace from the 2025 Tour de France stage. The guys over at Lanterne Rouge did an article about this stage where they claimed it was one of the greatest performances of all time. And they estimated Tadej Pogačar required 6.44 watts per kilo to climb Ventoux in the record-breaking time that day. Now, unfortunately, it's the middle of winter at the moment and I can't just jump out on a flight to the south of France, so I'm gonna have to make do with Zwift's recreation of the climb. But the watts are the watts. I'm gonna set myself a target of holding 6.44 watts per kilo, which at my 65 kilo weight is around 420 watts, for as long as I possibly can up the same climb. Now, of course, I probably won't be going as fast as Tadej, as I don't have a full UAE lead out and the Visma domestiques to help me climb as fast as possible. But we're just gonna try and survive for as long as possible. The rules are quite simple, really. I have to average 418.6, which will round to 419 watts, for as long as possible. And if I dip below that average for more than 10 seconds and I can't dig myself back out the hole, then it's challenge over and we'll take the time at the last moment where I was averaging the power. Before I throw my kit on and get going, throw your predictions in the comments below. How long will I last? I know I've done around 400 watts for about 5 minutes in the past racing, but my power's never as good when we're talking VO2 max efforts on the turbo. So we're just gonna have to see what I can do. On the turbo now, just getting a bit of a warm up done before we're gonna start this brutal effort. I'm a little bit nervous, not gonna lie. 420 watts is gonna be excruciatingly painful, but I've got to suffer through it just to see what it feels like to be Tadej Pogačar. So I'm gonna do this not quite from the bottom, I'm gonna wait till just after. At the bottom there's a lot of undulation, so it wouldn't really work as well. I'm going to do it from where the proper gradients, the sort of 8-9% starts. And yes, I'm probably going to be out the saddle a fair bit in order to be able to sustain these watts, because I'm no alien like Pogačar is. Seatbelts on, because this is going to be over very, very quickly. And off we go.
It took a real surge to kick off the effort with my legs feeling really heavy from the past week's training. I just tried to keep up a really good cadence, not spinning out like crazy, but also not going really grindy. As you can see though, it's quite hard to hold a consistent power target when you're up in the 400 watts. And instantly I massively overshot the mark on the power target, which might come back to bite me later. This is something I always seem to do in hill climb races, as you know, when you're fresh and you get that adrenaline spike at the start of an effort, it's so easy to go over your limit and you really have to restrain yourself and keep it in check. Hitting the 1 minute mark, it was feeling really tough, but I have to say the legs were responding well to the power and they were starting to ease up. I've got lots of fatigue in my legs lately from doing around 18 hours of volume a week. So I find with these VO2 max efforts, right at the start, I struggle to get into them. But as soon as I start loosening up, then the power comes a lot more naturally. If you watch my effort up the grade, you'll see how aggressively I negative split that one. Around this point is where the first sort of signs of weakness start appearing. I start to yo-yo a little bit with my power, but straight away I lock back in, getting it back above target, getting back into the mid sixes when it comes to watts per kilo. At around 2 minutes in, it's really getting tough now. But if you have a look, my average power is at 429, 430 watts. So I'm well on target and actually doing more watts than Pogačar was doing right here. And crucially, my cadence is still looking good, up in the 80s. I know the second that starts to really drop, that's when I'm going to start to struggle. A couple of little bursts here and there out the saddle just to keep things fresh, I find really helps when I'm doing these intense efforts. And actually, despite having a few quirks with it when I was racing, the virtual shifting here was an absolute godsend, allowing me just to tweak the level of resistance. As you can see, my watts dropped ever so slightly. I can quickly shift up a bit when the gradient drop and not have to worry about shifting under load. But yeah, at 3.5 minutes, I was really starting to suffer now. In my head, I set that goal of get to 4 minutes. That's what I've got to do, 4 minutes, and I'll be happy. So I'm groveling on, as you can see, kicking out the saddle more frequently now, and you can see my whole body starting to move more, a real sign that I'm suffering. But the power is still there and it is still looking good. But as we cross the 4 minute mark, I am suffering now. And to be honest with you, I start getting that, oh, what's the point? Should I just quit kind of feeling in my head with a scream of pain.
Ah!
I'm gone. I'm dead.
That was hard. Oh, kind of regretting stopping when I did that actually. I think I might, this is going to sound awful excuses, I might have under 10 seconds. That was just pain tolerance getting in the way there. And actually, I stopped before my power had dropped too much, but yeah, 4 minutes 15, I'll take that. I think that's probably my new power PB for 4 minutes. Imagine doing that for an hour, because that's what Pogačar can do. Considering you saw how much I was suffering there, that was no easy effort. Power is coming on nicely though. All right, now it is time to talk results. And as you saw, I lasted about 4 minutes and 15 seconds, averaging 427 watts, which actually was pretty huge PB for my 4 minute power. If you included all of the dead time riding before and made it a whole 5 minutes, I would have still averaged 395 watts, which by 1 watt is a PB at that duration too. In my head beforehand, I had that sort of 3.5 minute number floating around as what I thought I'd be able to do. So to be able to exceed that by a good 45 seconds was really surprising, to be honest with you. And as I said before the effort, I'm carrying loads of fatigue into it. You know, I've been training 18-hour weeks lately, so this was really not a fresh effort. And I can even brag that I was faster than Tadej Pogačar for just that small 4 minutes. We'll forget about the other 50 minutes that he kept riding afterwards. But yeah, oh my God, that was hard. If you saw by how my face was looking there, yeah, 6.5 watts per kilo is brutal. I can't believe how they can hold that sort of power for those crazy durations. No wonder people refer to the top riders as aliens these days. But I still got that slight nagging feeling. Could I have done more? Could I have kept going? As you can probably see, I sort of just stopped. I didn't really go to failure. Yes, I was clearly knackered at the end. I'm not doing another 3 minutes at that power, but could I have squeezed a little bit more out myself? Well, I reckon if I was outside racing a hill climb with 100 meters to go, I really could have dug deep and pushed it just that little bit. I struggled to get into that complete game mode zone on the turbo. As you know, you're staring at a screen at the end of the day. You're not sprinting towards a finish line. So maybe I'll have to get out into the real world and try this test again on an actual climb, maybe even the real Ventoux. Also, obviously my watts were a bit too high even, with me pushing around 9 watts above what I actually needed to. So maybe if I'd dropped the watts back a tiny bit to exactly that 418.6 watts, I could have held on for at least another 30 seconds or so. At these intensity levels, it doesn't take much to massively extend your durability. But yeah, honestly, as much as it was a really painful effort, I'd strongly recommend give it a go yourself, because actually it's going to put some real context on when I'm sat watching the Tour de France this summer or any other pro bike races. But on the road to hill climb season, my power's tracking up very nicely. I'm already about half a watt per kilo above where I was at during my race season last year, and I was managing to win some local races at that power. So I should be absolutely flying, and I can't wait to get racing later in the year. And the training doesn't stop. Next week I'm off out to Mallorca, and I might even do a cheeky effort up Sacalobra again. But if you want to make sure you don't miss any of my race videos, or if you want to check out any of my old race footage, get yourself subscribed down below so you don't miss anything. And I'll see you all in the next one.